Chapter 27, The Dinner of the Three. It's so sharp, Klein laughed and added, with a rich experience from past lives. In fact, there is no evidence that the big men have brains at all. Yes, very good. Benson laughs and thumbs up. Klein, you're funnier than ever. After a pause, Heck continued, a hobby to get to the dock this afternoon, and I can't rest until tomorrow. And then, let's go to the Tingen City Improvement Housing Company and see if they have any nice, cheap townhouses for rent. And we'll visit Mr. French first? Mr. Landlord? Klein asked in disbelief. Does the current landlord own a nice row house on the block? Benson glanced at his brother and laughed. You won't forget we have a 1-year lease? It's only been 6 months. Hiss, Klein gasped. I really forgot this thing. Although the rent is paid once a week, but the lease is for a year. Moving now, equal to breach of contract. If the defendant goes to court, had to pay a lot off money, yet still don't have enough social experience. Benson touched his recessive black hairline and sighed. This is still the terms I fought for. Otherwise, Mr. French is only willing to sign every 3 months. For the rich class, landlords are renting directly for 1 year, 2 years, even 3 years, for stability. But for us before us, and the neighbors around us, landlords are always worried about someone having an accident and not being able to pay the rent, and they just want short-term contracts. That way, they can often raise prices as they see fit. Klein added, combining fragments of the original owner's memory with her own renting experience. Benson sighed and said, this is truth and cruelty of today's society. Well, don't worry about it. The contract is easy to settle. Frankly speaking, as soon as we miss a week's rent, Mr. French will immediately throw us out and seize the valuable items. Hearing this, Klein suddenly remembered a certain Sir Humphrey meme and earnestly shook her head. No, Benson, you're wrong. Why? Benson looked puzzled. Mr. French has a higher intelligence than a curly baboon. Klein replied seriously, and as Benson smiled, he added, if he's in good shape. Ha ha! Benson lost control of his reaction. With a burst of laughter, he pointed at Klein, unable to find a good expression for a moment. So he returned to the subject. Of course, as gentlemen, we will not resort to that impudence. We will speak directly to Mr. French tomorrow, and believe me, he will be easily persuaded, easily. For this, Klein has no doubt. The existence of gas pipes is the most powerful proof. The brothers chatted for a while, adding a small amount of fried meat and fish, left over from the night before, to a vegetable stew, and steaming the rye bread as it heated. Klein and Benson had a simple meal with a little cream on the bread, but they were satisfied, after all, with the creamy and sweet taste. When Benson went out, Klein also took 3 sous notes and scattered copper pennies, went to the lettuce and meat market, spent 6 pence to buy 1 pound of beef, 7 pence to buy a large tassock fish with tender meat and less thorns. In addition, there are potatoes, peas, white radish, rhubarb, lettuce, turnip, and other ingredients, and rosemary, basil, cumin, oil, and other things. In this process, he can still feel that someone is snooping and watching him, but there is still no real contact. After a delay at the Slim Bakery, Klein went home and began using heavy objects, such as stacked books, to strengthen her arms. He originally wanted to play military boxing to strengthen his body, but now he has even forgotten the broadcast exercises, let alone this kind of military training to contact things. Had to try to be simple. Klein did not allow himself to exercise too much, because that would have been tiring and increased the danger. And he stopped at the right time to read the textbooks and notes of the original owner, hoping to review the knowledge of the quaternary. Late in the evening, Benson and Melissa sat at their desks, looking at the food laid out, straighten like seniors in elementary school. A variety of mixed aromas make a rich food prelude. It is the permeating soul of the boiled beef. It is the obvious and persistent stimulus of the mashed potatoes. It is the sweet tangles of the pea soup. It is the subtle and moderate harmony of the stewed rhubarb. It is the creamy sweetness of the rye bread. Benson swallowed and looked back at Klein as he tucked a crisp, yellow, shiny fish into his plate, only to feel the aroma of frying go down his nose and down his throat, down his esophagus, and into his stomach. Gollum, his stomach made a distinct noise. Klein rolled up his shirt sleeves, carried the fish plate, and placed it in the center of the organized desk, then returned to the cupboard to take 2 large ginger beers and place them in Benson's place. He smiled at Melissa and conjured out a lemon pudding. "We have beer. You have this." "Thank you." Melissa took the lemon pudding and said weakly. Benson saw this, took up the cup, smiled and began. "Here, celebrate Klein's great job." Klein picked up the cup, touched Benson, touched Melissa's lemon pudding. "Praiseth Goddess." Gollum, he lifted his head and took a sip, the spicy taste burning through the esophagus, bringing a wonderful aftertaste. The full name is ginger beer, but it does not actually contain any alcohol ingredients. With the spicy ginger juice and lemon acid mixed to create a beer-like taste. Belonging to women and children can also accept the drink, but Melissa does not like the taste. Praise the goddess. Benson took a sip, while Melissa nibbled at a bit of lemon pudding and chewed it over and over again. Give it a try. Klein puts down her cup, picks up the spork, and points to the food path on the table. Among them, he has the least confidence in pea soup. After all, on Earth will not eat such a strange thing. Can only be based on the original owner's memory fragments to recreate. Benson, as a brother, did not welcome, dug a spoonful of mashed potatoes into his mouth. Boiled to the limit, mashed to a pulp with a hint of lard and just the right amount of salt, he sputtered wildly and had an appetite. "No, wrong, not bad." Benson mumbled, "It's much better than the last time I had it at work, with cream. This is my specialty." Klein took the compliment in stride. "Thanks to Mr. Welch's cook." Melissa looked at the beef soup, where green basil leaves, green heads of lettuce, and white chunks of radish were immersed in the colorless water, hiding the soft beef stew, fresh in color and delicious in flavor. She forks a piece of beef, put it in the mouth to chew, only feel soft rotten still have the chewy. A little salt flavor and radish light sweet, basil spicy, together stimulate the delicious beef itself. She seemed to be praising something, but she could not stop talking. Klein tasted, feel delicious, not without regret. This and their best level or poor heat. After all, some spices did not have, can only use other instead. It is inevitable strange. Of course, even at the best level, home-cooked meals are only passable. Suddenly, he felt bad for Benson and Melissa, whom he had never seen before. With the beef in his mouth, Klein added a deep-fried tasso fish sprinkled with cumin and rosemary. It was crisp on the outside and tender on the inside, charred and delicious, with a salty and oily flavor. With a slight nod, Klein tries another piece of stewed rhubarb, feeling that it is not too bad to overcome the cloying taste of meat. At last, he plucked up his courage and ladled a spoonful of pea soup. Too sweet, too sour, Klein frowned. But when he saw Benson and Melissa's satisfaction and doubted his own taste, he swallowed ginger beer and cleaned his tongue. This meal, the brother and sister all eat belly bulging. For a long time, cannot get up from the chair. "Let us praise the goddess again," Benson said contentedly, picking up the last bite of his ginger beer. "Praise the goddess." Klein drank the last of the drink in one gulp. "Praise the goddess." Melissa put the last bit of lemon pudding in her mouth and savoured it. Klein sees this. With a drunk smile, Melissa, this is not good for you. The best way to eat your favorite food is to eat it in the beginning, so that you can see the most delicious side of it. When you are full and your appetite has decreased, you can taste it again. No, it tastes just as good. Melissa answered firmly and obstinately. Brother and sister 3 talk and laugh, digest for a while, and then together clean up the plate. Spork, fried fish oil poured back. After busy, they review the course. One self-study accounting knowledge. One continued to read textbooks and notes. Live a full and satisfied. At 11 o'clock, the 3 Klein siblings put out the gas light, washed, and went to bed separately. In a dark, unexamined state, Klein suddenly saw Dunn in a black knee-length trench coat and half-top hat. Smith, Captain. Klein woke up and knew in no uncertain terms that he was in a dream. Dunn's gray eyes had no waves, as if he were saying a small thing. Someone has snakes into your room. Picks up your revolver, forces him into the hallway, and then gives him to us. Someone broke into my room? The Watchers finally strike? Klein was shocked and didn't dare to ask any more questions, just nodded. Yes. The scene changes immediately before his eyes, and the colors appear in a riot, like bubbles, one by one. With his eyes open, Klein tilted his head carefully to the window, where he saw a thin, unfamiliar figure standing at his desk, silently rummaging.